Today we are gathering here to induct some distinguished CIOs to the CIO National List 2023 and celebrate the presence of remarkable leaders among us. On behalf of the Computer Society of Sri Lanka, I extend the heartfelt welcome to each and every of you. Your presence here adds immense value and significance to this occasion. On this ground, I want to remind two people, that is Dr. Prasad Samarasinghe and Mr. Prabhat Vikramaratne, the two council members of CSSL. Few years back, they wanted to have the CIO list to be established. So there were a lot of discussions and went around two councils, and it took some time for us to formulate the proceedings and the marking procedure, and a lot of discussions. I think a lot of very esteemed, eminent intellectuals involved with this development, and I'm so happy coming forward to help us as CSSL to get this CIO list background done. So again, my thanks goes to Dr. Prasad Samarasinghe and Mr. Prabhat Vikramaratne for initiating that. They too did their best to do it, but however, myself and Mr. Damit was so fortunate today to launch that. But I think you did the hard work. And also the panel of esteemed intellectuals for defining the policy and the marking scheme, and also being as panel members to mark, when you all came for the interviews. They went through the documents. It was a bit of a tedious work, and with their very busy schedules, they were able to come and help us. Again, I'm giving my heartfelt gratitude to you all for your help towards Computer Society of Sri Lanka. And there were some panel members later on joined to evaluate. So again, thanks again for coming as panel members to mark them, the policy that we define. And also the council members of the CSSL, so all the council members wholeheartedly gave us the acknowledgement to proceed with it. And then we allow the panel members to do all the things, but only Mr. Damit Hettieva from CSSL involved with that. And I think first meeting I also came. Other than that, the panel members evaluated and they gave us, and then the council endorsed, and then I would to soon we will be launching 9 CIOs of the country, the first ever CIO list. But we are looking forward, because we have invited some of the CIOs who probably have not heard about the CIO list, but we are always welcoming you to become in the next year's CIO list. And by the way, we are not going to rank any of the CIOs here or in the future. So we are assessing you with our criteria, and if you are way above our threshold mark, then you will be recognized as a CIO of the country. And so all the names that you will see later on, they are on alphabetical order. The way they're given the names, we have sorted out with the alphabetical order. There's no such order as such. When you see the names, the person who comes last or person who comes first, there is no indication about where you are. But basically, we have acknowledged all the 9 members who are sitting in a table here, but their names will be coming soon. So rather than I am announcing that, I will welcome them. And thank you for giving hope for us to come up, and you have done a good job, because we have put the first standards in a very high level, so that that will be good for the country. I think this will be a betterment of the country in the ICT field as well.
With that, I respectfully invite next, yet again, a very significant personality, and he will be discussing on the importance of the role of a Chief Information Officer, the CIOs, in today's digital landscape. Ladies and gentlemen, please put your hands together as we welcome Dr. Prasad Samarasinghe, Chairman of Sri Lanka Rupavahini Corporation, to the lectern.
I'm sure the CIOs will talk a lot about their nice stories and impress all the next generations, and share all your thoughts with the future generations, not only Colombo, not only Western Province, the entire country. Because of that, even though Dr. Ajanta and Damit pushed me to take the topic of role of CIO, but I really want a real CIO to talk about it more than myself because I am old CIO. Today I became more like a businessman and more nationalistic, almost about to retire. And surely all the CIOs, not in this 9, what we want to do is even the other CIOs to come and talk, then they will be eligible for next year the list. And it's not going to end up with 9. We are going to start the today's one to 22nd, and every week we will listen to the CIO talks, and there we will be able to understand what the role, what they are supposed to do. Everybody will not be the same. They will have a different history, different message to the young generations, and surely most of our CIOs will go to the next steps as well. And that is the reason, Mr. Tyagaraja, when we were at the banks, we were looking at somebody who is running the shows, the best banks in the country, and how do we become that? But unfortunately, I missed it, but I am sure the other CIOs will have that chance as well. Today's world, CIOs can run the countries. One day, somebody will recognize me, Prabhat, Dr. Ajant and Damit. By creating this kind of history, I'm sure we will be able to see a nice CIO list. Everybody will recognize, everybody will value it. That's it. Thank you very much.
As we know, the whole world is going through an unprecedented transformation around the technology, particularly with AI and other frontier technologies. So the transition or the digital transformation, which is the transition which is bringing to us, the mankind, or this human civilization, is unprecedented. And it's all around technology. So in that context, the technology leaders or the CIO's role in this whole phenomenon is becoming very, very important. So CIOs, chief CDOs, and perhaps chief innovation officers, so they are at the center of this transformation. And as a result of that deliberations, they came up with 12 measurement criteria. Because as I said, with the massive transformation happening across all sectors of a country or in the world, so the role of CIOs was changing. And it was changing from a supporting role to a very, very strategic role. So that has to be reflected in these measurement criteria. So the 12 pillars they came up with after spending a lot of time and effort: strategic IT acumen, transformation management, business mindset, digital advocate, operational excellence, performance orientation, financial discipline, risk management, talent management, leadership and professional excellence, global exposure, and legal compliance. So these are the criteria. It's not about evaluating some hardware, software, or some application. As you see, as the world is going through that transition on massive digital transformation, bringing massive benefits and efficiencies and everything to the mankind. So the role of CIO is reflected in these 12 pillars. So with this, we had actually 3 stages of this process. First, we invited, we actually launched through a press conference, and then invited, I think we did substantial communication effort. And then we invited CIOs to register. And the first round was really to filter the real CIOs of the registered applicants. Then CIO prospects for the list were invited to do their submissions based on this 12 evaluation framework. And it was a big ask from the CIOs, and I think the form or submission they had to do was minimum of 5,000 words. So for these very, very busy CIOs, it was a big ask. Amidst their running their businesses, in fact, as he said, it's not just the operation function of IT. They're mostly running their businesses, aligning to their businesses. So we had to keep extending the deadline, allowing them to, giving more and more time. So that's why, as Dr. Prasad and Dr. Ajanta said, it took so long for this process. But nevertheless, we as a organizing body, professional body, we didn't want to compromise, particularly the advisory committee of the top intellectuals. They were also very patient. They wanted to give time because the judging was based on those submissions.
One certain important takeaway from this, from young aspiring school kids to school leavers to professionals, to look at people like you and say, why not me one day? And I think that's one of the key objectives, to see what has taken you to get to where you are today. So perhaps we should start by giving a taste of your childhood, a bit of your family background, your parents, your siblings, school days.
About my childhood, I grew up in Maharagam. I come from a very close-knit family. My father was a principal, my mom was a teacher. I had 3 siblings. My eldest brother is a surgeon. He lives in Sri Lanka. I have 2 as a sister and a brother who lives in Australia. Both of them are doctors as well. I'm married to a consultant doctor as well. I studied at Kotta Ananda Vidyalaya, where my father was a principal from grade 1 to 5, and then moved to Ananda College, Colombo for grade 6, where I obtained my secondary education.
On reflection, would you say that your parents, especially your father, being a school principal, would have had some influence in you pursuing an academic career?
Definitely. I think my father was very strict. He was a principal, and he always kind of gave a direction, but it was my mother who persistently pushed us to make sure that we achieve our true potential. So I think I'm grateful to both of them for where I am today.
Oh, great. And I believe that before you actually got into get a taste of IT, you started initially with a stockbrokering firm, JB Stockbrokers, right?
Yes. So there was an interesting time way back in 1990, early part of 19, there was a political uncertainty in the country. So there was a long gap between by the time you finish your A-levels and then the time you get an opportunity to enter the university. So after I finished my A-levels, I was looking for a job. I was very fortunate to get an interview from JB Stockbrokers, and I was interviewed by Mr. Moshina Jafarji, MD of JB Stockbrokers. So I think we made an instant connect in the first meeting. So I was offered to, the interview was on a Saturday, asked me to come on Monday. That's my first job as assistant stockbroker. Yeah, I worked for 6 months. My job was, there was a weekly stock market report we need to send to our customers. A lot of our customers used to complain the mathematics of that was not accurate. So that first job Mr. Moshin gave, make sure I do it correctly. So just after my A-levels, I need not to use a calculator. I could do a lot of maths in my head. So he was quite impressed. So I was one of the few people had direct access to MD, even though I was the youngest in the staff. But he inspired me a lot in terms of as business leader who I am. And then when I left JB Stockbrokers after 6 months, because I got opportunity to join Standard Chartered Bank, he said, that's the way to go forward. I used to for Standard Chartered Bank, whenever you achieve something in life, come and tell me. I'll be happy as your parents.
So I think, again, a point to take is, I think, knowing Mr. Jafferji for at least 3 decades, I think his commitment to excellence and precision would have obviously made a lot of sense to you. But again, Standard Chartered, international bank with more than 100 years presence here. Why did you look at an international bank as opposed to any other local bank organization at that time? Would there have been a particular reason?
Yeah, I think couple of them. One is that, so with my A-level days, I followed mathematics and then got selected to do a degree at University of Moratuwa. I always had the inspiration to become business leader one day. I never want to be a hardcore techie. That was not my cup of tea. Then I knew that being a techie can help to understand business better. That was a fast track, but I don't want to be, as I said, a full-time techie. So during my time at the JB Stockbrokers, I got my first exposure to financial industry, how the markets work and how people invest, how they return, a lot of things. So I then tend to read a lot about those areas. Because my parents are from education background, they never had that financial exposure, so I learned a lot. And there was opportunity to join Standard Chartered Bank. Standard Chartered Bank was the biggest international bank in the country. And then I saw the career I was aspiring to achieve is getting unfold. Because, JB Stockbrokers, Standard Chartered Bank, so I kind of felt there wasn't any idea about becoming CIO one day because even that word was not used. But I kind of felt that I'm going in a direction where I want to achieve my ambition, so I jumped to it.
So you spent about 2.5 years with SEB, right, before you...
That's correct.
Right?
Yes.
So again, an interesting point. I note that during that 2 years, you were in the IT as well as the export department, which is
Correct.
trade finance.
Yes.
And from what I gather, you also did your banking exams and became one of the youngest ever AIB holders in Sri Lanka, right?
That's correct. So as I said that, I felt a connection. So when I joined the bank, obviously, I really want to start banking because I love the subject, economics, accountancy, costing, practice of banking, law. I was very keen to learn that. So then when the moment the opportunity comes, I started doing that. So I did my intermediate exam, all 5 subjects in one go. So which is something, it was slightly unusual those days. And I was quite keen to complete my AIB full examination before I joined the uni, which I did. As I said that, I'm very humbled and proud that the record I established in 1994 still remains as the youngest to complete the banker's examination.
So I think this is a very important point for aspiring viewers. A guy who came in with A-levels, got into a stockbroker, went into an international bank, into trade finance, which has almost nothing to do with engineering. Completed his exams under 2 years and then decided to go into one of the best universities in Sri Lanka to do engineering and computing. What made you switch? What made you actually decide? Because I'm sure with Standard Chartered at the time, it would have been with your performance, it would have been, you would have been very much sought after, and it would have been the beginning of a journey. What made you decide to part ways from that journey and go into academics?
So it was like young age of like 19, and then when I was about to resign, I can remember the head of HR said that you are taking a riskier path. A lot of people who are graduates have not done, whereas you have a good career in the bank. I think it was the inspiration from my parents and family who said that you should never compromise your higher education. So I think that was the main reason. I think I took a change. It was difficult. It was like a nice job, highly paid, enjoyed, but I decided to go to university.
So you did a 3-4 year degree, right?
That's correct. Interestingly, so once we finished our degree at Moratuwa, we got multiple offers from various companies. We were well sought after. And then, so one company offered X and the company offered Y, so the price point was going up and up. But I decided to take the job which gave me the least salary, MIT. Simple reason, actually there are 2 reasons. One is that I love the culture of the company. What Tony established as an organization was fabulous. So a lot of key ICT leaders of our age started at MIT. Second thing is that I found another connection. Just before my interview, MIT won a contract to implement the core banking system at Sampath Bank. So I kind of felt that this is my next step, and then I jumped to it.
So you spent about, 5-6 years with MIT, right?
Yes, I had 2 stints with MIT. Initially from 1998 to end of 1999. The way I moved from MIT was also quite interesting. So Promukha Bank was one of our clients which we supported through Finacle system. And due to some internal challenges, the bank was the least ready bank in terms of Y2K compliance. So then they were looking for a person to come and kind of manage the situation. I was just 24, and then they offered me the job of head of IT at Promukha Bank. I jumped to it. So, I mean, I was quite young, head of IT. You have a driver, you have a secretary. So I thought, wow, this is life. I kind of say I want to take the job. And in terms of the technical challenge, I had a very intense knowledge about the platform, the Finacle. So it was not at all challenging, because with implementation of Sampath Bank of over 100 branches, that was a fairly kind of a straightforward. So kind of that's the reason I went there. But as you know, that the bank didn't do well. So I told Tony I want to come back, and he got me back to project management team. So in my second stint, I did another almost 6 years at MIT.
Following on from there, then you got into another organization, again a homegrown Sri Lankan company, which eventually ended up with NASDAQ, right? Were you headhunted, or did you go after that company?
Well, I think like many other professionals at that time, so the family thought that it's good to go out of Sri Lanka and start exploring opportunities for the Sri Lanka. At the time, UK was the easiest to get into as a country. You send one application, you get accepted. So I can remember, just because to keep the family hope hunt happy, I came on one Saturday where we had implementation where we worked the whole night. I started filling the application, printed by 5 o'clock in the morning, went to call PTS, sent to DHL office, gave it saying, okay, I'm done with this. At least another 1 year, I will not have a problem. Luckily or unluckily, within 2 months, I got a letter saying I'm accepted. So I had to go to UK. And I moved to UK in 2006. I have a large number of friends and colleagues who were there working. And with their help, I joined Virtusa in the UK.
You were with Virtusa for how many years? About 10?
Yes, from 2006 to 2021, almost 18 years I stayed.
And in that stint, obviously there would have been a lot of client engagements with European, regional, global customers, right? In terms of key takeaways, in your opinion, what would be, say, 2 or 3 of the key takeaways for you, which you would have developed or benefited, which in your opinion today, when you look back, have held you in steam?
Yeah. I think primarily I got the confidence to talk to any stakeholder, because the Virtues as a company, and especially the people I work for, gave me the opportunity to speak to the senior most customer stakeholders and build my relationship with them. So I was never kind of put aside in terms of playing a second fiddle. And other thing is that domain. I always focus a lot of getting a domain. And when you speak to a customer, you need to establish trust and respect. Only way you can get that is if you make sense to your customer. If you think the customer thinks that speaking to this guy, I am going to get something return. What solution, what problems do I have will be solved by this person. I think that's the kind of a learning, that's kind of the training we got in the Virtusa, which kind of focus us in terms of adding value, increasing the relationship intensity with various stakeholders. I think that kind of got into my ethos of working, which I still follow.
So looking at the three I think important facets of building self-confidence, the ability to communicate, improve your communication, engaging with customers and other parties, as well as creating value as part of a solution. If you look at those three attributes to aspiring youth, how important would you say is this whole attribute of being able to communicate and developing communications?
I think it is the number one thing, because you should be heard. I think a lot of people, it's a fact that within first 5 to 10 seconds people make up their mind. If you can't make that elevator pitch where you hook on somebody, I don't think you get an extended opportunity to have a conversation. So I think you don't have to be a super speaker, but I think what you need to is to understand the customer, look for what customer is looking for, and make sure you are providing something and resolving a problem that he or she has. With that, you can start, and obviously you need to focus on building your relationship. I mean, some of the customers I still remember, where I still in touch with after many years. Initially, even to get a meeting was quite difficult. Mails after mails asking for appointment, and then try to call them, not calls being returned. But one fine day it clicked, and there was no return back from that.
So persistence.
Absolutely,
important. Another very important attribute. Again, how long were you in the UK for? About?
I lived there for about 11 years.
11 years, right? So tell us a bit about the cultural diversity and the interaction. Because I did what you did probably 30 years ago and returned back in 92. So I went through what you went through as well. But I'm interested to hear what you went through.
Sure. I think there's very diverse views about that fact. Some people say if you are colored, you have challenges. And I had no intention to run for the premiership, so I was born to do a successful ICT professional. I don't think I had any challenges. What they was looking for is that reliable, persistent performance, and then look for out-of-the-box solutions. And then moment those attributes were displayed, I didn't have any challenges of accessing any leader in the company I worked for, or to gain trust. So obviously, I think, as I said, that there are certain things in the UK, if you try it, you may not be able to achieve. But as far as my professional career was concerned, there was a none, which was considered as a blocker for me.
So turning on to a slightly different tenant, AIB, BSc in Computing and Engineering, and there's another tenant as well. You also are a past finalist of CIMA UK, right? What is the connection or relevance or useful between CIMA with a computing background?
So I said that I always want to be a business leader. I want to be 100% techie, hardcore techie. So, I mean, there are dots which I was not that clear, but I felt that there's some relationship between doing CIMA, doing engineering, trying to do banking. So, as I said, I found a connection which can help me to prosper the career I was aspiring to. And even today, if you take many large projects fail because customers fail to understand what the customer needs, customers' requirements, trends in the industry, ROIs, financial KPIs, operational excellence. I think a lot of projects are perceived as pure technical delivery. Unless and otherwise you understand or see the projects in a different lens, you cannot. What I learned through CIMA, even today, the strategic management, costing in terms of the operational excellences, various those parameters kind of help me to lay a foundation which help my thinking in a different way compared to my peers.
So I think it's another important takeaway that while you may focus on one particular vertical of a profession, the importance of broadening your professional horizons with more than one qualification, I think certainly it has made sense to you. So what, 15 years in the UK, and I believe that like myself, you're also a dual national,
Yes,
right? Now tell me, what made you, having also got your British nationality along with being a Sri Lankan, for you to make the decision to move back to Sri Lanka at this juncture?
Yeah.
Because I'm sure there are enough people both in the audience as well as outside who have been grappling with this thought about do I or do I not?
Yeah. Interesting. I think I can see at the very outset 3 reasons. The most compelling reason was I want to come back and look after my parents. I mean, I felt that they are getting old. They need our support, and then they'll have to spend time with us. Each time I come to Sri Lanka and go back, I can say how many times I can see them, which was quite disturbing. So I kind of that always had this guilty feeling. I want to come back and look after. Second thing is that, I mean, as I said, then I grew and I studied from the free education system. Government spent first started from year 1 to year 5 to O levels to A levels to university. So I think I always felt that we need to do something back. Though I worked for 8 years before I went to UK, always felt that coming back to Sri Lanka, I can do something. So that was another factor. Third factor is, interestingly, I don't know how many people will see the world like that. I see 2 aspects for your life. One is your happiness and comfort. UK has all the comfort, but I don't know you have the same happiness that you have back in Sri Lanka. So for me, I think it's very obvious that I'm much happy in Sri Lanka.
So another very key, I think, that take away the ability to balance monetary aspects with the return on happiness, right? So I think that's a very important take home. On reflection, Hudu, what would you tell to aspiring young people having now done the journey from the early 90s, almost close to 25, 30 years, to where you are today? If you look back, what would be perhaps the 3 most important bits of advice you would give to aspiring youth in this country?
Yeah, I think few things at least. One is that I see that today's generation is always trying to find a shortcut to success. The amount of commitment, the patience that they have is very limited. As I said that, I've gone through my journey, each time I got some opportunity to learn something new, I appreciated that, and then I took the opportunity from both of my hands. But what I feel is that, as I said, they want quick wins, they want money in overnight, they want the recognition, like in no time. So there isn't the relevant commitment from most of these youngsters. If you look at this famous book from this Gladwell of the Outliers, it clearly said that if you spend 10,000 hours, you become a master or expert. That's over 10 years. So then hard things, the important things are hard to achieve, but then you need to be consistent and following those things. So I do a lot of interviews to recruit people, and people come up with large number of certificates, starting from network to cloud to database to project management. But if you ask 2 serious questions, we see a blank face because they are to focus. I think the professionals, young professionals, should understand there's a journey, and you need commitment. You need to be perseverant and getting what you want. So that will be a long journey, hard journey, but I think that's the only way to achieve success, at least in my view.
Fascinating. I think this is a very unique story, which I'm sure many who are watching this program will want to emulate. Somebody who started not with a focus on IT, but looked at a career as a part of a journey and took every opportunity as it came, benefited, went out, profited and benefited, but always had the home at heart. And I think the 2 or 3 points you mentioned about being a beneficiary of free education in this country and wanting to give something back. I think it's a very, very powerful statement at this particular juncture when I would say most people of your generation or maybe slightly younger than you are looking at greener pastures and always wanting to go out. So I think this story is certainly an inspiration for reversing the trend, hopefully, as we are now trying to come out of this economic challenges as well. So it's been a real a pleasure interviewing you, Sumudu, during this last half an hour or so. And let me again wish you every success as you continue your career, and wish you all the very best. Thank you very much.
Thank you very much. It was indeed a pleasure talking to you. Thank you.